Hi everyone, Joanna here and Bernardo. And today I'm going to talk about my positive breastfeeding experience.
Excuse me, ma'am. Do you know how fast you're going with those breasts? You are breastfeeding.
Let's start again. So I'm going to talk about my positive breastfeeding experience. And here's Bernardo. This is his expression after eating. Very relaxed, and this is like the best thing ever, is to have him falling asleep in my arms after breastfeeding, which usually happens for him and for me. So it's a very relaxing moment and a good bonding time for us. But I'm also going to talk about some of the challenges that I had in the early days. So this video is, hopefully to assist you. You might, if you're pregnant, and I do have some good friends of mine who are pregnant at the moment. So this video is primarily for them or for you if you're also looking at breastfeeding your baby. So my experience has been very positive, and but as I said, we had a few challenges. But let me start from the beginning. So when I was pregnant, I knew that I was going to breastfeed my baby, so that was like the most natural choice, and I didn't even consider that I wouldn't do it. However, I think I underestimated a little bit, because I thought I will breastfeed, but I wasn't really questioning it that much, or in the sense of investigating or thinking about what challenges or how to overcome those. Now, the good thing is that I was being supported by a doula during my pregnancy. So one of the sessions we had was actually about breastfeeding, and I am so glad we did that, because if you're pregnant, you know that your main focus is labor and birth. And so it was very cool to me to kind of get a bit of a distance from that mindset, and to think about the post-labor and talk about breastfeeding. And during that session, we even had a doll that I could play with in terms of the positions, etc. So that will be kind of my first suggestion, is if you're pregnant, to talk about breastfeeding with, let's say, a lactation consultant, or even a women's group, where you can kind of have that experience and play with, like, let's say, a doll, and you can really have that feeling of what it's like to have a baby in your arms. So that session was very supportive. One interesting thing that I'm going to tell you now is that I never had like big breasts, and so I had this doubt that if I had milk. And so my doula, she was pretty cool at kind of reassuring, like, Jonah, don't worry, you have milk. And what she did kind of, and I asked her actually, okay, how can I know? And she kind of said, okay, Jonah, let's do this. And so she actually squeezed my nipple, and I saw milk coming out of it. So I was like, yeah. And then I asked her, can you do the other nipple? So just to be sure that I had milk in my both breasts. And that's a kind of a myth that many women might have, in terms of like associating small breasts to not having milk. That's not the case. And look, my baby, he's 4 months old, he's almost 10 kilos, and he's totally fed with breast milk. So don't underestimate breast milk, because it's actually the perfect way to feed your newborn. And I plan to breastfeed him exclusively until he's 6 months old, and then starting to include other foods. So that was pretty cool to learn that I had milk, and that's a myth that regardless of how big your breasts are, there are very rare cases of women not having milk. So I wouldn't be worried about that. Right, so when after labor, we had our first kind of encounter, myself and Bernardo, and well, he kind of latched in the first half an hour. So we had, as some of you know, home birth. So after birth he was just on my chest, and we let my baby just look for the nipple. They are born with all the reflexes they need to look for the breast and the nipple. So that's what we kind of just did. We allowed him to just get familiar with my skin. He was moving his little legs and his neck to look for the nipple, which is very interesting to watch. And I was simply there like facilitating with my arms, the positions, just to assist him. And I moved just my breast a little bit to facilitate, but I kind of let him explore. And he kind of latched in that first half an hour, I can't remember the time now, but that wasn't that relevant. But it was just nice to let him get familiar. And even for me, it was the first time I was kind of meeting him and having a baby in my arms. So that was a very cool moment. He wasn't that hungry, so he latched just a little bit. But one thing I learned was that babies aren't born that hungry. So it's normal that if they don't eat a lot, they're probably more exhausted than tired than actually hungry. So he was born at 1 a.m. and it was the next morning that he was hungry. So that was officially kind of my first breastfeeding experience with him. And it was interesting. I wasn't that confident because I was kind of fearing that I was doing something wrong, or if he wasn't eating. But a good indicator that he was eating was the fact that he was spitting some milk. So at least I knew that something was going in. But with breastfeeding, you don't really know the quantity, but you have to trust yourself and be confident of what you're doing, and also trusting our baby. So I know that he was still learning. So yeah, I was kind of understanding how things worked. Also the position. To me, it was very helpful to have my doula. So she came to visit us around lunchtime, and she was also helping me with the position so that he was he was in a good position to help him as much as I could for him to latch. I noticed that it was a bit more challenging on my right nipple because it wasn't as big as my other nipple. So I found it easier to breast milk on my left breast. Now, 2 days later, what happened was that because it was challenging on my right nipple, I started kind of avoiding, and then my right nipple got a bit, with too much milk. So I called my doula. She came again to visit us, and she helped me to extract manually the milk because it was just very big and it wasn't easy for my baby to latch. She didn't have the good angle to do so. So that was just something to learn, was like if your breasts get too big with milk, then you just manually extract. So I just extracted like two, I had a muslin with me to just absorb the milk that I was basically taking out. And then my baby was then able to basically latch. The other thing you can do is just hold your breast a little bit, so just to facilitate the latching, and then you can let it go. Now, the other thing I learned was the position. So there, you just have to also allow the baby to get kind of comfortable, and the other thing is that they're still kind of developing, and maybe their tongue isn't yet totally not developed, but doesn't have the muscles yet worked out. So to me, those first 2 days were the most challenging, as I said, because I wasn't sure if he was actually latching properly, but he was, and you can see in his jaws that he was moving in the right way. So, and there was definitely milk going in. I can say that it was very, very helpful to have our doula assisting us and visiting us those 2 days. And after that, well, my nipple, I never got wounds, but they were quite sore, and we know it was because of his tongue wasn't yet totally adjusted to my nipple, but that was fixed like with the right position, and we kept on practicing. So I would say that by the 3rd day it was a pretty smooth ride, and it was actually comfortable, and I wasn't anymore in a way hesitant to breastfeed on the right side, which was the case in the first 2 days. And then after that first week it became just very, very easy, and I can say it's like the most relaxing moment of my days when I breastfeed him. We're doing like we call it I think it's, you can say, on demand. Basically, whenever he's hungry, I just feed him. I don't check the times, because that can be just creating too much pressure on us as moms. We also, we check his weight, but don't get too stressful about it, because in the beginning, babies, it's normal if they lose some weight, but that doesn't mean that they're not eating. But it's simply because they also they're processing a lot, but also because they're pooing a lot. So there's lots of things going on with the babies. But to me, the fundamental advice that I can give you is to seek advice and help from a lactation consultant who will definitely be able to assist you. And it's normal for us if we don't know, because we're doing this for the first time, and so the babies, so it's all new. And but once you overcome any of those challenges, you might not even have any, it's just so good, and it's so practical. We are traveling with him for the first time now. We're in the south of Portugal, and it's just so easy to always have my milk ready for him. And I just have to eat very well and be relaxed, and really enjoy this time with my baby. It's a great bonding opportunity, and I think it only has positives. I'm also comfortable breastfeeding him in public spaces. Sometimes we're at the restaurant and I'm eating and he's also in my breast eating, and it's just not natural. So no judgments. And here in Portugal, where we're now, it's very common, and also people in a way cheer breastfeeding, like they really think is the best choice. So I haven't had any problems or any kind of, people looking quite the opposite. Some old ladies come to tell us oh, it's really nice that you're breastfeeding your baby. We hope that the new generation does that, because it's just the best thing for the babies. And that's what I think too, because it's a living nutrition. The breast milk will adapt to the baby's needs, and we're really connected. It happens sometimes that just checking the time. I feel when I know he's hungry, it's sometimes I just feel my nipples with a bit of pressure inside, and he just starts manifesting that he's hungry. So that's how connected we are. And it's just a very good experience. Now, before I finish, I also wanted to share 3 things that I think you might need when you're breastfeeding. The first one, and these are very practical suggestions, is to always have a bottle of water with you, because you will probably feel very thirsty. That's what happens with me. As soon as I start breastfeeding him, I just want lots of water. So don't forget to have a bottle of water with you. The other thing is the muslin, the cloth muslin. So for example, Bernardo, he had a bit of reflux in the first 3 months, and so having a sort of like like cotton cloth with you is very supportive in case he spits, because that might help when he burps, and yeah, so just to clean up. And then the third thing is a pillow. You have those breastfeeding pillows, or any pillow for that matter, is just to have something supporting your arms. So yeah, especially in the beginning, where we're kind of learning how to do how to adjust to our babies. Alright guys, I hope that this video is helpful. If you have any questions, let me know, and if you're pregnant, congratulations, and I hope you really have a fantastic time breastfeeding, and as a very positive experience as mine has been so far. Thanks for watching, and talk to you later. Bye. Bye from Bernardo.